All right, so we good to go. Let me see the live engine show up, and then hit that one live on Facebook as well, and we could fly. Yes. So Pablo, we are live and direct. It's you. All over to you now, my brother. It's all yours. I'm got frozen. Now Murphy is frozen on me.
So, bro,
I'm frozen on my end. What's going on with Murphy? The whole thing frozen. Oh my word. I got frozen, Pablo. I can't even make a
oh,
note.
okay, that's what happened there.
Oh my word. No song, no nothing. What going on here? Okay, okay, we good. Pablo, you there? Hello? Raphael Paul? Okay, let me take a song. And, yeah, just, okay.
You are not
We,
coming through clearly. I'm hearing you now.
yeah, we was frozen on ice here. So,
Okay.
so let me go back to this page. Yes, you're live. You're up. All right. Can you sit back a little away from your camera a little bit?
What?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I see your head right on top today. See how you see me? I see you right on top.
Mm-hmm.
Cup of your top part of your head is cut off. So if you could
Okay.
just okay. All right, let's go with what we got here. All right, my brother, it's all yours. All yours. It's all yours.
Okay, so thank you very much, Brother John. Thanks for having me back here on the Gem FM platform. And
Yes.
good afternoon and welcome to whoever would be joining us once again here on the Gem FM platform. I am Raphael Paul Pablo, and it's a pleasure to be back here. I have a surprise for Brother John and for you, the listeners. Now, you are used to me coming on at this time with a program called The Comfort Zone. I have been on an unscheduled 6 month sabbatical, and in my reflections, I have decided to change the title of the program. So it will no longer be called the Comfort
Comfort
Zone.
zone.
The name of this program now is no, the name of this program is going to be the T-Tap Show. Okay? The T-Tap Show. It's about time, it's about things and people. Time, things, and people. Because essentially, that's what life is all about. Everything happens in time. Yes, Brother John? Time, as we know,
I
is
agree.
infinite. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Time,
Yes.
as we know, is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? So
Yes.
everything happens in time, and it's all about people. And
Yes.
that's why you find that there's so many different quotations about time. Everything happens in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have sayings like time is longer than twine, all in
Mm-hmm.
the fullness of time.
Time.
Don't joke or don't play with father time. Don't waste time. And when you're on the job, the boss will say to you, you can't do this on my time.
Mm-mm-mm.
Well, right now I'm on Gem FM's time, and my time here is not indefinite, you know. So as of today, this program is going to be called the T-Tap Show.
Great.
time, things, and people.
Mm-hmm.
And the focus of this program is going to be looking at domestic issues,
Okay.
regional issues, and Afrocentric elements of things.
Mm.
And my reason for that kind of focus is because, as Marcus Garvey has said to us, and I quote, hear all, but attend only to that which concerns you. Marcus Garvey said, hear all, but attend only to that which concerns you. It means that you have to keep an open ear to everything that's going on around you in the world at large. But the things that we have to tend to are those things that concern us as a people, that concern us as individuals, and concern us collectively as a people. Because one of the things that has happened historically is that we tend to exert a lot of our energies into things that are of little
Mm.
concern to us as individuals, and more so collectively as we exert a lot of our energies into, really and truly, are of not great significance in terms of the rest of this program is going to be towards. I like to quote from one of our leaders. It's about the building of our Caribbean civilization. And in the discussion, the discourse about the building of our Caribbean civilization, we look at those regional issues and we look at those other issues that impact in one way or another on those elements of things that affect us. The Afrocentric element is critical. As you know, this month is Black History Month. And it shouldn't be just about a month. It shouldn't be just about just for the month of February that we have these kinds of conversations. But our Afrocentric, our Pan-African conversation should be an ongoing conversation, an ongoing discourse, because we need to we need to keep our focus. We need to keep our focus on these issues that are critical to our well-being and to our prospects for development. The other thing I want to say, under the under the comfort zone banner, and I know Brother John has been looking forward to me returning, to us returning to that initiative. But, and I'm speaking here about the diaspora initiative that we had started some conversations surrounding that, because coming out of the conversations that we were having on the comfort zone, there, it became evident that there is the need for a level of connectivity and collaboration between our diaspora and our domestic, our locals, in terms of making certain things happen. And we did have some very worthwhile conversations. But as I said, my 6 month retrospective review, I've come to the conclusion that my platform is not the ideal platform for driving such an initiative. And I know people like Coach Naka, Delbert Baptiste, uh, Austin Thomas, Tony Dabrio, Dennis Ogilvy, Senator St. Clair, and others were all participants in these exchanges. I want to say I do not consider this platform the ideal platform for driving such an initiative. And I'm certain that there is another platform, that there are others more suited based on what it takes, based on what is required to get that going. I believe that there has to be, there will have to be another platform to spearhead such an initiative. So the focus, that diaspora focus, will not be a driving force of the TTAP show. Now, as I said, we're in the month of February. It's Black History Month, and you can expect that we are going to be, for the rest of the month and going forward, because of our Afrocentric focus, we will be speaking very much about Black history. And where do we as a Caribbean people fit into this whole concept? Where do we fit into this whole narrative? So there's going to be quite a bit of conversation along these lines. Now, it's our month of independence also. Last week, I was unable to continue to have a complete program. I was only able to introduce myself. In any event, it's also Reggae Month. Brother John, you are aware of that? That this month is Reggae Month?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Reggae.
This month is Reggae Month.
Wow, I
Now,
had no idea.
Reggae Month, it was officially proclaimed and first staged in 2008.
Okay.
It is spearheaded by the Ministry of Culture in Jamaica and powered by the Jamaican Reggae Industry Association, JARIA.
Mm.
Okay, so and the focus of Reggae Month is edutainment. Yeah, that's a new
Edu-
word, right?
edutainment.
Sure. I'm certain you never I hadn't come across that word before.
I never
It's
did.
about edutainment.
Edutainment.
It's about education and
On
entertainment.
entertainment.
It's about educating the people
Mm.
about how this entertainment component, yes,
Mm-hmm.
has has impacted on Jamaica.
Mm.
Okay, how that genre of music has impacted on Jamaica's musical industry and its heritage.
Right, right.
Okay, so this is also Reggae Month.
Mm.
But sticking with the independence, I have a guest that will be joining me at the bottom of the hour. I'm expecting a guest to join us at the bottom of the hour. Okay? But before we get to that, I want to share, based on our independence exchange, yes, based on the fact that this is about our independence. This is our Independence Month. I want to just do a short focus on that. Yep, I want to do a short focus on. And to do that, I want to share with you a piece that was shared by one of our, he's a regular guest on the Gemfm platform. He's been here quite a number of times. And I expect that he is going to be here again in the coming weeks and months. And Grenadians will be seeing quite a bit of him in the coming weeks and months, because he has indicated that he is going to be participating in the upcoming general elections whenever that is called. I'm speaking about no less a person, Mr. Michael Baptiste. And he
Yes.
shared this piece for independence. And it goes like this. Many, many years ago, Sweet Grenada got its independence in 1974. Freedom,
I think it gone. Frozen on your end. Okay.
freedom, freedom from the British. For me to wish all Grenadians living in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique and abroad a very happy Independence Day. This day has a special significance as it marks the beginning of the 48th year of Grenada's independence, for which the late Prime Minister Eric Matthew Gary is being celebrated. My hearty congratulations to you all on this momentous occasion. Independence Day is a festival of freedom for us all. This was made possible by generations of freedom fighters, some known, many unknown. They made great sacrifices. Today, you and I breathe under free skies, thanks to their heroic deeds. Our nation, like many others, suffered great injustices under foreign rule. Today, we are free to make our decisions politically, socially, and economical. Although there's room for improvement, we continue to strive for betterment. What distinguishes Grenada, however, is our resilience and friendliness as a people. Now, as we look back to 48 to the to 48th journey of our trial and state, I'm reading as is. We have reasons to be proud of the considerable distance we have traveled. Gary has taught us that slow and steady steps in the right direction are preferable to rapid strides in the wrong direction. Brother John?
Wow.
As we celebrate, let us all reflect on our historic past and the sacrifices that were made to get us to our freedom and redemption. Let us continue to pay respect to the light of those that continue to put Grenada on the world map. Kirani James, Mr. Killer, Anderson Peters, and even those who recently participated in the Dubai Expo, flying the Grenada flag and showing, sorry, that should be, and showcasing our national identity, although it's written and showing casing. Anyway, happy independence with Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. As one people, one nation, and one family, I wish you all the best on this 48th anniversary and always. Love and joy, Michael Baptiste. So, there you have it. This was from Michael Baptiste. Yes? And that
Yes.
was his message that he shared for independence. And I want to go back to the very first line, which says, many, many years ago, sweet Grenada got its independence in 1974. Freedom, freedom, freedom. We were finally able to break free from the British monarchy. And the reason why I go back there is because one who is not in the know, if one was to land, if an alien was to land here and doesn't have a clue as to what's been going on in this world that we live in, they would feel, well, okay, that Grenadians now have totally disconnected itself from the British monarchy. However, in the recent sitting of the Senate, we had one of the senators, a senator from Florida in St. John, Mr. Matthew Joseph, raising the issue of the fact that in this day and age, we should no longer be swearing allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen, her heirs and successors. We are independent country. Michael Baptiste says freedom, freedom, freedom. Well, if we're that free, why are we still swearing allegiance
To the Queen.
to Her Majesty, her heirs and successors? We are still swearing allegiance to the lineage of the Queen, yet unborn. And we say that we're free. Yes, we've attained certain level of political independence. We now have certain level of self-governance. But all of the procedures, when you go to the House of Parliament, where the decisions of the people, the issues or the business of the people is discussed and decisions are made on behalf of the people, all of the procedures are colonial. All of the procedures. So apart from our politicians having to swear allegiance, our leaders, the people who manage the business of the people, still having to swear allegiance to Her Majesty, the Queen, her heirs and successors, all of the procedures involved still mimic the British hierarchy, the British system of doing things. We still see the head of the Senate and the Speaker of the House and so dripped in these wigs, this British wig. And we say we are free. Isn't that a form of mental slavery? In addition to that, we have a Governor General who is the Queen's representative. And our Governor General is adorned and with an insignia, a medallion that they wear at official ceremonies and so. What's on this medallion? It's a white angel with a sword in hand, with his foot on the neck of a black fallen angel. Yes, you heard me correctly. I believe it's called the medallion of Saint Michael.
Yeah,
something of the sort. There was a big to-do in Jamaica not so long ago. And it's just amazing how we can continue to emulate and to, because I tell you, when I speak about these things, it really gets to me.
Take your time. Take your
Because
time.
on the one hand, the people who are saying to us, that we're free and yes, and let's break, and we break the chains of colonialism and so on. I remember when we were having the referendum for the CCJ not so long ago. That was a line that was being pushed, breaking the chains of colonialism. But the people who were advocating that are people who are positioning themselves, and some of them already have the label. They already have that
A title.
a title, yeah, of Queen's Counsel. And Queen's Counsel is supposed to be a big thing for our people.
Yep.
And we see a lot of our people, we revel in those queens accolades.
Yep.
On Her Majesty this, OM, and whatever. And we are free. And we've broken the chains of colonialism. Doesn't make sense to me. It defies all sense of logic, really. That is mental enslavement. These people are the same people will tell you, they will quote Bob Marley's song, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. But yet, we keep holding on to the skirt tail of the Queen. We keep holding on to the skirt tail of the British Empire. We keep holding on to that colonial to these colonial accolades, while we're saying, on the other hand, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Well, I'm calling on all and sundry to really emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. Because all of this QC and OM and whatever else, and Governor General with this medallion, with the white angel, with his foot at the neck of the black fallen angel, and all of these things, and us swearing allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen, her heirs and successors, is mental enslavement. I'll leave it there for now, because I see that our guest is here, the Brother John.
Our guest has arrived.
Our guest has arrived.
Yes, I know if you keep with a limo, when he has arrived, he's at the front door.
Our guest has arrived.
Yeah.
And so I am going to move right into the introduction of our guest for this afternoon. That's Mr. Dave Ned. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Ned, and welcome. Can you unmute your mic?
And turn your camera.
And if you join us on camera, if you don't mind. Mr. Ned, are you hearing us?
He just mute his mic. He's there. He's there. Just settling in, I guess.
Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me, Pablo?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, we're hearing you. We're hearing you now, Mr. Ned.
we can see you.
Okay, good. I know you're not seeing me. Is it possible you can send me the link by email?
Okay.
And then I can
Okay.
get my video up.
Okay.
All right,
I
all right.
sent you a message a little while.
Show can do. Show can do. Brother John.
Hey.
Um.
Okay, hold a second.
Do. Mr. Ned. Okay. I've got you.
I'm going to pick a song in the meantime.
Yes, that will be wonderful.
Check out every trend Begonia. All of them have the solution. How to run this twin island and get the people out of this jam. You take a chance and give them the work, not realizing they was making joke. After months you start knowing there's only old talk you was getting because Chip no, Jack no, Harry know how to run the show. Paul no, Mac no, till the country falling down low. Low, the country falling down. Low, the country breaking down. You will see how the whole place tumbling down, and there's so much bright people in town. Low, the country falling down. Low, the country breaking down. You will see how that phone is tumbling down, and so much bright people in town.
Yes, so the email, it has been sent. Okay.
So as they reach, they make we know they qualify to run the show. We tell ourselves they have plenty sense. In them we put we confidence. After once we get to realize was only world in front of the eyes. Jim know, Maggie know, Paul know how to run the show. Roy know, George knows till the country falling down low. Low, the country falling down. Low, the country breaking down. You will see how the country falling down, and so much bright people in town. Low, the country falling down. Low, the country breaking down. You will see how the whole place tumbling down, and so much.
So much bright people in town, Brother John.
So much.
Or the country falling down.
What's going down? Yeah, I know.
And so much bright people in town.
So much bright people in town, and the country.
And the country falling down.
Yeah, so much bright people in town. Mr. Ned,
Yeah.
you got the video up? Davidson phone. I think he's in there.
But they're not seeing me.
Yeah. Your phone. Which one is your phone? You have your phone on the iPhone? Is this one you get it?
Yes.
So click. Okay. You have us on.
Sorry, say that again.
You getting
Turn off your. I get no feedback. You have to turn off your phone. You can have it on to listen. Turn the volume off on your phone. Yeah. Gotta stand up for something and die for nothing.
And doing nothing. Ask the world over. You just a freeloader. Problems every day. You have nothing to say. You rather run and hide before you take a side. I tell you, stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. In your whole lifespan, you never make one stand. Stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. People dying every day, and you have nothing to say. Stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. Stand up, stand up, stand up for something, or
Okay,
you will
hit the camera on your phone now. Turn the camera on. All right.
Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Here
Good
we go.
afternoon. Good afternoon.
So
Good
good afternoon to you, Mr. Dave Ned.
Good afternoon,
Welcome
sir.
once again to Gemfm.
Yes.
It's your
It's been a while, but
your first appearance for 2022.
yes, it is. It is. It is.
Yes.
We are almost practical.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. And if
Well,
I
it's
may,
always a pleasure to be here.
yes. And seeing as you're not really a stranger to this platform, many people know who Mr. Dave Ned is, but you're a man who wears different hats. And I know that you're involved with civil society organizations, and you're involved with the Constitution Caucus. Let's
Yes, I
get
am.
started. To get started, can you give our listening audience and our viewers a little background of the Constitution Caucus and what it's all about?
The Independent Caucus for Constitution Reform is seated in the desire that all Grenadians should be aware of the basic rules that they're governed by. So our Constitution provides for the protections of our rights and freedoms. And what we found is that coming out of the 2016 Constitution reform, the referenda that was proposed in 2016, and again in 2018, whilst a number of bills were referred to the people, for the people to make a decision, most did not understand the process, nor did they understand the bills that were put in front of them and the implications of those bills. And it was evident in the low voter turnout and both referenda. So coming out of we were meeting each other constantly during those referenda. And, you know, we had discussions and so, and we started discussing the Constitution and discussing the concerns that we had with respect to, you know, people being aware of what is going on in terms of the governance of the country, and people being aware of what protects them fundamentally, their fundamental rights and freedoms. So, you know, after a while, after the 2018 referenda, we started getting together and meeting and discussing the Constitution and the provisions of the Constitution. And finally, that organization was formed. And it is, you know, its core is that as Grenadians, we are all equal. And the Constitution protects us equally We are, in fact, a rule of law country. The Constitution demands of us that we respect the rule of law and always to hold it in high regard. So, we have formed a group and we started advocating, we started discussing the Constitution. We've appeared on a number of programs discussing various sections of the Constitution, the implementation. And here we are today, another program again, where we are going to discuss some issues that are central to our democracy. And again, central to the whole concept that every Grenadian is equal and we should equally, and our opinion in terms of the governance of the country, each of us, none has a bigger opinion or none opinion weighs heavier than any other. So I think that's about it. We started in November 2019 and we have advocated on a number of matters. We've written letters to the Governor General. We have had some radio programs. We've had Facebook programs like this one. We've had discussions with Brother Bernard Cord, particularly to get his input into the circumstances surrounding the Constitution in 1974. And those discussions were very revealing. So the discussion goes on, the advocacy goes on, and gradually we're seeing a youth coming into the caucus. So we're making progress. The grouping is growing. So we're not happy with the progress that we've made, but we have made progress, and we're satisfied that people are coming around and people are paying attention.
Okay, well, I intend to attend my first meeting on Monday coming. Okay, I intend to be there. I'm not going to allow this one to miss me. My first meeting will be on Monday coming. Speaking of having written letters, in the public domain, there is a letter headed an open letter to the Governor General of Grenada. It's dated February 11, 2022. And it really...
That's Cassandra. That is Miss Cassandra's Mitchell. That's her baby. So I don't want to interfere with that one at all.
You don't want to interfere with that one at all. But
she's going to be joining us. So I'm going to leave that one.
Actually, I've requested of her that to join me sometime to discuss that, but she has not responded. I don't know if she's going to respond, but she has not responded.
Well, I spoke to her this morning and she indicated that she was going to be on.
Okay, very nice.
Oh, she did. Oh, this is
Okay. Cassandra has an open invitation to Gemfm. She could come into any, for example, my show. There's discrimination going on at Gemfm. Gender discrimination. Is well, that's what people been telling me. People been telling me, they say, John, I always see men on your show. Where are the women? I said, well, I'm asking the women, but they're not coming. I have said to all the women to come to the show, but they come in once in a while and they don't come again. So I'm just waiting for them to show up on the show one day.
But Cassandra she is a very tall lady. Not tall in stature, but she carries a lot of weight. And she's one of the few people that I know who really does the work. She puts all the energy in, and she does the research, she verifies, she checks. And when she comes to the fore with anything. It's normally well-researched, well-rehearsed, and she presents, in a manner that is clear and that anyone can understand. She speaks across the spectrum, so a wide cross-section of people. So I know that she has been very active, involved in that. So I would prefer if she handles that.
Okay. Now,
but when I was coming in, I heard you speaking and you're actually playing Bob Marley, or you were talking about Bob Marley.
yeah.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Yes.
And
yeah, go ahead.
And it's a discussion that I would like to have, really, because my interpretation of our Constitution says to us that Her Majesty, the authority of Her Majesty is subject to the Constitution of Grenada. So whatever authority Her Majesty has, it is subject to the Constitution of Grenada. Now, the Constitution of Grenada is owned by the people of Grenada. Only the people of Grenada can change the Grenada Constitution. And that is why we've had 2 attempts to change the Constitution since 2016. And that the changes, what they wanted to change in the Constitution was actually referred to the people for them to give their stamp of approval, or for them to not give their stamp of approval. And in both cases, the people did not approve it. So really, our relationship with the British monarchy is whatever we say it is. It's whatever we say it is. Sorry. We can get up in the morning and change the Constitution, just as we were attempting to change it to go to the CCJ. We can change the relationship with the Queen. So we are free, or we are not shackled, but by our own determination. It is us to decide the relationship that we want with the Queen. And it's clear, Section 39.5, you can change the Constitution at will. Section 106 of the Constitution says to you that the Constitution is the supreme law. So whatever the Constitution says, this is what is the law. Section 57 of the Grenada Constitution on the executive. Let me double check that. But basically it says that the relationship Her Majesty has with Grenada, or that we have with Her Majesty, is subject to the Grenada Constitution. Everything is subject to the Constitution. We must approve of it. So if we want to disapprove of it, you have a referendum, you change it, and that's it. So we're not bound in any way. We're not shackled in any way. You know?
Speaking of
but it
that,
may be in our minds that we're still shackled, but we're not.
Speaking of that, was there in the referendum that we had, and I'm not speaking about the one to the CCJ, this was specific, in the one that brought a host of different bills, was there any bill? Yeah. Was there any bills in there that would have changed that relationship, that would have addressed the issue that you just spoke to?
No.
Why do you think that was the case? That after 48 years, before you get to that question too, another question I want to ask before we get into that is, we had a number of bills in that 2016 referendum. let's just say that there was one bill that received a 80% majority vote. Could that bill have passed if the others didn't receive the 2/3 majority by itself?
Just to clarify the question, there were 6 bills, but the 6 bills each had different components.
Yes, okay.
Right.
Right.
So there were a number of things that were wrapped up. So you have one bill, but you have an orange, you have an apple, you have a pear in the bag.
Right.
That's bag number 1.
Okay.
So somebody, for instance, might not like apples, so they don't want to vote. They wouldn't vote for that bag because simply there are apples in that bag, and I don't want apples at all. So that was one of the problems that we had with that initial referendum. Most of the bill had riders, what we call riders, and because of that, the implications remained unclear to the ordinary person.
Okay.
And
yeah, go ahead.
So you found that most people, erred on the side of caution, and if they don't know, they voted no.
Okay. So that being the case, we had 6 bills, which, as you said, each bill had a host of other subheadings and so on. So let's just say, going back to my point, let's just say that bill number 4 did receive the adequate majority votes. Could it have passed by itself?
Yes, it could have passed by itself.
It could have passed by itself without the others
without the other
yeah,
without the other 5.
Okay. Okay. But you
once
say
it received the 2/3 majority of the people who voted,
it could have passed by itself.
Yes, it would pass by itself.
But each of the bills you're saying they came like a package of different ingredients, different components. You had oranges and bananas and pizza and everything in one bag.
In one bag.
Okay.
Pablo?
Yes, go ahead.
I want to ask Dave a question on the same subject matter there.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think that in the inclusion of such pieces into the referendum, into different bills, was put there for mainly to pass other bills that would not pass by itself? But they put it there because they want. If you stand alone, you wouldn't get the vote.
Yeah, if it stood alone, the public, yeah.
Yeah, so they put that in there.
For instance,
so you vote for one and vote for all.
You vote for all. For instance, the bill to change the name of state of Grenada, to Carriacou, to Grenada, Carriacou, and City Martinique should have been a very simple something. The state was defined as Grenada, the islands, and the territorial waters. So that should be Grenada, Carriacou, City Martinique, the territorial waters, etc. But we found it strange when there was a rider on that bill saying an area where Parliament may declare. So the question was, what are we talking about? What does Parliament have to do with determining the boundaries of Grenada? The boundaries of Grenada are set. So a simple bill as that, where everybody thought that, look, we are going to change the name to include Carriacou and City Martinique. And the rationale was, well, Carriacouians and City Martinique, they don't feel included. But that bill, there was a rider. And it actually gave the parliament of the country, if that bill was passed, it would have given the parliament of the country the authority to determine the boundaries of Grenada. That's a weighty authority. So they can determine that a section of somewhere is just not in Grenada. That's it.
So, for example, little island outside Calivini could have annexed and say this is not Grenada.
Yep.
Somebody could bite and say this is not Grenada anymore.
Grenada, and the parliament can make that declaration.
Can make a declaration. So even the piece outside Battery could have declared not Grenada, it could be a different country right there.
Parliament areas at parliament could declare.
Wow. Pablo?
Yes, Brother John. Now there's
so Pablo, we could have annexed war. We could have annexed war.
Yes.
We could have annexed war.
Yes, the Republic.
Yeah, man, the Republic of St. John.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but you see, we would have had to have parliamentary approval for that.
Yes,
you know?
but
And I don't think the parliament of the day would have supported such a thing. One of the things that come up time and again too is this whole issue coming out of this referendum exercise. Is this whole issue about the leader of the opposition having a prominent leader of the opposition, or so ensuring that there is a leader of the opposition. What would you say could have been a concern with that? Because I see time and again when those partisan political discussions are being held, you would see reference. You see it being thrown at the official, the leading opposition party, that they didn't support that aspect of the referendum, and now they're complaining that there's no opposition. Can you speak to that?
Okay. The leader of the opposition. Well, Pablo, our constitution requires certain actions of the leader of the leader of the opposition. So the leader of the opposition has to be a part of the, there's a committee that the leader of the opposition has to be a member of. The finance and something else. It's not coming to me now.
Supposed to be the chair of that finance committee.
Yes. Yeah. The name is not coming to me now. So the Constitution recognizes the leader of a Majesty's opposition, and there are certain duties that the leader has to carry out. And what we were seeing is that there is a very ad hoc, piecemeal attempt to fix certain issues that have occurred in the Constitution. And because the Constitution the Constitution, every section relates to other sections and that sort of thing. So if you pull one section from the Constitution, it creates imbalances. And the whole idea of an executive authority electing the leader of the opposition, and that is what it was. The leader of the opposition is supposed to be elected by a democratic process. It is supposed to be a reflection of our democracy. So when you see the leader of the opposition, he is supposed to represent somebody. And that is not what was happening. They were going to pick somebody and put them in the parliament, which does not necessarily gel with the whole concept of what democracy is. Now, we have to accept that there is an issue that on a number of occasions, on more than one occasion in our history, we have had a situation where there's no opposition in the parliament. And we have to ask ourselves, first and foremost, why this is happening. And if that answer comes to us, how do we go about addressing that issue? You know, how do we fix it? Because in fixing this, you know, you don't want to throw some other thing else out of whack. And sometimes if we don't pay attention to what are the core issues, then we get lost in trying to fix symptoms. So you have a cancer, and the cancer is erupting as a sore somewhere, and we're busy fixing the sore, you know? But there's a big cancer somewhere else that is in fact causing that, you know? So, and I think we need to have serious discussion as to where our politics is after 40 years, after 48 years of independence, where our politics is. What is the concept of democracy that we want to see? Because our constitution was designed, it was built on the basis of representation. So we do not elect prime ministers. We elect constituencies, elect parliamentary representatives, people who are supposed to represent the constituency. Now, we have moved away from that, and we have introduced the whole concept of a party. And for the last 30, almost 40 years or so, we have been a two-party state, and there's been a two-party agenda. So we have to critically look at this and see what are the benefits of this two-party state. If this whole concept of two parties is giving us the results, is bringing to bear the kind of democracy that we want to see. And our constitution is built on the fact that your constituency representative does not represent a party agenda. Your constituency representative is supposed to represent the agenda that the community comes forth with. And that community does not mean that it has to be party A or party B, because after the election, you are the representative. You're supposed to represent everybody. So we have moved away from these very core tenets of the Constitution. And we now have a party. So when you go to Parliament, for instance, and you have 15 people in Parliament, you are not hearing that constituency-wide Northeast needs a road, and we need to fix this road now because of whatever reason. You're hearing a party agenda. And at the end of the day, everybody agrees or disagrees based on which party they represent. Now that is foreign to the Constitution that we have. The Constitution envisages that if people can come together, they must come together to make progress. And that after you elect a representative, everybody's supposed to be working harmoniously with this representative. The fact of the matter is that for the 5 year cycle of our parliament, both parties do nothing more than the one in office tries to stay in office, and the one out of office tries to get in office. And there's very little time for our development. So as a nation, we have to sit and ask ourselves the question, if this is the concept that we really want. And then we need to have to make we need to make the necessary changes so that this whole concept can work. There's no mention of parties. There's no mention of partisan politics. The Constitution in section 30 and 32 says that the constituency shall return a member to the House of Parliament. Note carefully, a member, meaning a member of the community. The community shall return a member to the House of Parliament. And I think that that is the very bedrock, is the very core of our democracy. And if we have moved away from those values, we will have that kind of problems that keep coming up now. I know Pablo wants to say something on that one. God,
two things on that, Mr. Ned. Two things. One, right? The issue that you just raised, you know, the issue of what the Constitution says in terms of the representative is supposed to be someone from the community, from the constituency. And over the years, we know that time and again, we've seen people running for office in constituencies where they don't necessarily reside. That's one. Two is, in spite of the fact that the Constitution does not recognize political parties, and Grenada's situation is not unique in that across the democratic spectrum, you find that the electoral contest is between parties. What's your take on that situation, and how do we get away from that? You know, I know we have an election pending, and as I have already said to you in the private conversation that we've had, these issues are not going to be addressed before we get into the next elections. So, your take.
But why not? Why not?
Why not?
For instance,
Brother Dave, Brother Dave, you know why not? You know that these issues are not going to be addressed before the next election. You know that for a fact.
I do know that, because if a candidate does not reside, does not qualify according to the section 32 of the Constitution, it does not qualify, and he is running in my constituency, it means that my constitutional right to fair representation, right, would be infringed upon, because I am not getting the kind of representation that the Constitution envisages. And the Constitution says that if that is the case, if I think that my rights are in fact being infringed upon, then I have access to the court, and I can take a matter to the court. So, as a people, that might not necessarily fix the situation, right? But as a people, we need to sit and have a mature conversation and decide as to what do we want with our democracy. For instance, let's take there's an issue with regard to campaign financing. The party take it upon themselves to raise money to finance a campaign to influence voters to vote a particular way or not. The voter does not know, there's no declaration, there's no limit, there's no report on where those monies are coming from. So we don't know where those monies are coming from. And not just where the money is coming from, but what is attached to those very heavy donations that it takes. You know, to campaign, it's in the millions of dollars. All right. So we don't know that. And there's no mechanism, there's no law that says you can't finance, a party cannot raise funds. But our constitution speaks to, our laws in the Representation of the People's Act speaks to something called treating. And it speaks to something called bribery. Treating.
Okay.
Treating. Okay. Meaning that you cannot treat somebody. You cannot give them a treat. Like you have a little party with children, happy birthday, and you give them treat.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot give a person a treat and influence them to vote to you for you in any way. That's the law. I didn't write the law.
But that is common practice.
That's the law. But it is common practice. So if we are to follow the law, and you are giving me a jersey, that's a treat, right? Because I have not paid you for the jersey. You're giving me a jersey. And if you're giving me a jersey that says, vote for Pablo, it means that you're giving me a treat to influence me now to vote for Pablo. That's against the law. The law is there. There's a similar situation in Dominica now, where somebody took Roosevelt Skerrit and two other members of parliament to court. And it went right up to the CCJ, and the CCJ said that the case must be heard, and the case must be heard in the magistrate court. That's simple thing. All right? But we have not implemented those laws. But we talk about campaign financing, and we want limits and we want laws for campaign financing and that sort of thing. You don't need that, because the candidate cannot treat. The candidate cannot bribe. I can't come to you and give you $100 and say to you, Pablo, hold on to that. I want you to vote for me. Can't do that. That's bribery. It's against the law. Right? And it's in the Representation of the People's Act. I can quote the section for you now. Unfortunately, Cassandra, come on, she could do that.
Mr. Ned.
And Pablo, I know, of politicians who have had to leave their homes in other constituencies and go to live and rent property in other constituencies to satisfy that requirement.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that happened with an NDC candidate in the 2008 elections. I know that to have happened.
Yeah.
We also know there are a number of instances where people not resident in the particular constituency have won the seats. Given the distribution of T-shirts and so on have become an integral part of the election campaign, and it's taken as normal. And it's happening again now. It's going to be happening again now. And that's the reason why I say, and that's the reason, in fact, it's become part of the planning in the campaign in terms of party paraphernalia and so on. That's part of the financing. And you hear it all the time from the citizenry in that, and it's been said to NDC in particular, because one of the things that's been thrown at the NDC is that, all you do have money to campaign or all you go run government, right? Because NNP is seen as being able to spend as much as possible, whether they're in or out of office, on their election campaigns. Okay, so that has become an accepted and an integral part of the election campaign. And that's the reason why I said at the onset that these things that you are speaking to are not going to change. I am all for edifying people. That's why I'm having you here, so that we can have this conversation. That's why I'm willing to be part of the constitutional caucus. But I don't see anything happening to change that is going to impact on the outcome of the forthcoming elections.
Well, if we agree, Pablo, that the Constitution is the supreme law, right? Do you agree to that?
Yeah, it is the
If we don't agree,
there's no dispute about that.
okay? If we agree that all public officials, they all take an oath, and in part, they would say that they swear to honor, to uphold, and to respect the Constitution. Honor, to uphold it, and to respect it. So it means that what is being said here in section 32 of the Constitution, under the heading elections of members of House of Representatives, should go according to what the Constitution says. And if you give me a second, I can read it for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it says here, each of the constituencies into which Grenada is divided. We all know that Grenada is divided into how many constituencies? 15 constituencies.
15 constituencies. Yes.
Right. And it says with the provisions of section 56. And section 56 basically says how they should go about dividing the constituencies and who's supposed to do.
Okay.
All right. It says each of the constituencies shall return, all right, one member to the House of Representatives who shall be directly elected. So how does a constituency directly elect a member who does not live in the constituency?
Okay.
There is supposed to be a direct. All right.
Pablo, follow Mr. Ned, and that same topic there, that same question there. Supposing I represent the parish of St. Mark's, one of the constituencies in St. Mark's, and I do not live there for 9 months. I move in there, and that constituency I live elsewhere. Could I register that address as my primary address and run in that area? Would I be qualified to run in that area?
The law says that you have to be domiciled / resident in the constituency
so
for 12 months.
Okay, so that's
the candidate.
But does it go by address or physically living there? This is my primary residence. Physically living there.
Your resident. It is the place. The place that you register to vote, right? Yeah. Must be the place that you call your home.
Right.
Meaning that wherever you go, this is where you go back to. You might spend a night by Pablo because you went to go,
okay.
You know?
For example, I just want to use a kind of context here. If I move from 610 Vaughan Road and I move to live in Scarborough, within 4 days, I have to change my address. All my driver's license, everything has to be changed. That now I'm not living there. I'm not too sure you have that kind of a situation in Grenada. Now, where that person, for example, the PM lives in Victoria, now I heard, allegedly lived there. His constituency in Happy Hill area, right? Is Happy Hill his primary residence or his secondary residence? Is he registered as a voter living in that residence? The other way he living now is not his permanent residence. It's just a temporary shift
Well, where he lives would be where he has spent the last 12 months before the election.
So how do you determine?
According to
How do you determine a living person living there different to a permanent resident in that area, registered residence?
That is the duty of the registration officer to confirm that if you register in a particular area, the registration officer is supposed to confirm that you live there.
So,
and
at present, is there anybody doing that, checking up to see that the person vying for office is living in that particular residence over the 12-month period? Nobody.
Nope. The enumerator, there used to be what we used to call enumeration, which used to be a snapshot. So you stop everything and you register voters during a particular period. So for 3 months, you're going to be registering voters, and everybody has to be registered. And the enumerator would come to your house and they would sit with you and they would talk to you and they will give you an enumeration certificate, which says that I have seen you, I am satisfied that you are living where you're living, and that with this certificate, you can be issued a card, a registration card.
I don't want to intrude, but Pablo, one more question I have. So in this particular situation of the Prime Minister, if you had to call election in the next 6 months, you're not qualified to run in Happy Hill then?
Well, I can't say that. What I can say is that he is supposed to be living in the constituency
for 12 months
that he wants to run in. He must live there for 12 months.
Okay. Just asking. All right, Pablo, back to you.
Because I don't know where you live.
You don't know where you live.
Pablo gets back.
It is alleged. It is alleged. It has been alleged. Pablo, it has been alleged that you don't live in the constitution.
So with all that we've said, right, and getting back to those foundation points that Mr. Ned made, as regards the treat, right, the treats, the T-shirts and so on, the paraphernalia, because the T-shirts has become part of the election campaign paraphernalia. So you're saying that in and of itself is illegal?
Lawful. According to all representation of the People's Act, and as I've been to Sandra, she knows that.
So given that this by our has been accepted, this is now the accepted practice and standard practice by our political parties, because as you mentioned earlier on, the Constitution doesn't recognize political parties, but while the Constitution doesn't recognize political parties, we see that across the democratic spectrum, and not just the Grenada situation, we see that the political contest, the contests for government is between political parties. And this is not a Grenada situation now. Across the democratic spectrum, the contest is between political parties. And we see that the whole issue of the campaign and the paraphernalia that goes with the political campaign includes the T-shirt and whatever else. What's your, speak to that issue. How do we get from here to this ideal situation, given that it's the accepted practice by the political parties and by the citizenry, the voters themselves?
Well, again.
And before you go on, Mr. Ned, and thus far, there has never been a challenge. There has never been a legal challenge to these issues. And it is against that background that I dare say that we are not going to get to that ideal place that we need to get to before the next election.
Well, we were in a pandemic. Yeah? The pandemic went on for almost 2 years, and there was no legal challenge. 2 years down the line, they are beginning to be challenges. So people are now beginning to understand the rights and the protections that the Constitution provides, and that the laws of Grenada provide to them. So in the pandemic, we saw people who were driven by fear. You know, we were afraid. And we took certain actions that most of us thought was in our best interest. 24 months later, you know, we beginning to think and say, well, you know, this don't look as what it really is, you know? And we see certain actions by government, even when the virus or the pandemic is not an emergency, we see government continuing to keep a state of emergency, a state of public emergency, active on the books. You know, Constitution does not allow that. The Constitution says that you can have emergency powers for a very specific period, and you have emergency powers to deal with the situation that exists. So for 2022, well, we've had 5 deaths or 6 deaths, so I don't know what it is. So we're 2 months into 15, a month and a half into 2022, and if we have 10 deaths, you know, 10 deaths in 45 days, is that a public emergency? That's the question. So if it's not a public emergency, then there is no authority for you to have emergency powers that can infringe on the fundamental rights that our Constitution is supposed to protect. Nobody's dying. The security forces are not on the alert. The hospitals are not overwhelmed. We are accepting guests on our ports every day. Tourist boats are coming in. We're accepting guests on our airports. We're not screening them. All right? And we don't produce coronavirus in Grenada. You know, unless there's a new variety of nutmeg or some kind of thing, but we don't produce that here. So it has to be brought in. And it's brought in without no security. So we allow it to come in, no security. And then we want to keep emergency power. So what is the reasonable justification for having a state of emergency? And I challenge anybody to answer that question. Everybody's going to work. Everybody's going to work. We have schools a little bit, but we don't have any children in hospitals, so there's nothing to say, nothing to prove. There's no concern that children are in fact transferring this. They're carrying it, they're infecting people. So what is it? You know, and it's one of the questions. It's one of the concerns, sorry, in that we have a constitution. The constitution gives us certain directives, it gives us certain authority. We don't use the authority. When the authority is abused, we don't get up, we don't go to court. And then we sit and we say that the Constitution does not protect us. But the Constitution is only paper until somebody takes it up and reads it and takes an action. It's only paper. We're the ones for the Constitution to protect us as citizens we have to stand up and give the Constitution legs and hands so that it can, and mouth so that it can speak and it can write and it can walk and it can talk.
No,
and until we do that as citizens, we're going to be forever blaming others. And that's what we do. So we have an issue now, we blame the leader. But does it matter that the leader was doing this same thing for the last 20 years and nobody said anything? So why are we blaming him now? We are supposed to be blaming ourselves because we have allowed this to happen.
Well, it appears that Cassandra will not actually be joining us because I see she has chosen to be making her comments in the
chat,
on the chat, right? Okay. And if I may share some of what she shared thus far. One, she did say that the sound was a bit garbled. So and someone else said that the audio is really bad. That was 20 minutes ago. I don't know if it's improved since then, but someone said that the audio is really bad.
Yeah, I asked them if you fix it.
In any event, Cassandra said to me, she said, Pablo, just because something was done in the past doesn't make it right. Policymakers tried to change the prerequisite for a candidate. Why? It was required for a candidate to be a member of the constituency for a period of 12 months prior to the date of the elections. She also said in the RPA, a minimum of 6 members of the constituency has to confirm a minimum of 6 members of the constituency to confirm through a form submitted to the PEO that the candidate meet the requirements to represent them. And she also said, it says it's happening because we, the people, keep allowing it. I will not place all the blame at the feet of the politician. And I guess here she's referring to the issue that Brother John raised about the residency of the Prime Minister. She said, if he's residing in St. Mark's for a period of 12 months prior to the elections, then he can't contest in the other constituency as per the RPA, meaning the Representation of the People's Act. And with treating is proving intent. If the intent is legal and an offense, many citizens aren't aware of the treating clause in the RPA, so one cannot assume that the practice cannot be alleviated. And my point is, with all that Cassandra has just shared, all of what we've spoken to has been standard practice. All of what we've spoken to has never, ever been challenged in the court. Are you saying, Mr. Ned, and Cassandra, you too, are you saying that we're likely to see challenges to those issues, seeing as you are the ones who have that awareness, which the majority of voters do not have? And these concerns that you are raising, that you have raised, these issues, pertinent as they are, people are not aware of them, and people are not likely to take any action. Are we likely to see any such action coming from quarters like yours, like from the Constitution Caucus or from the civil society organizations? Mr. Ned?
Those actions have to come from the way we feel is that this must come from the constituency. It must come from the people. Those challenges must come from the people. We have to understand that for the democratic process to work, the people must take part in the process. So we are concentrating now on educating people as to what the Constitution actually says. And it is up to them now to take whatever actions that they think is right. They may think that they want the party system and we should change the Constitution. That's their right. That's their right. But we have to come to the place where we can sit and have a conversation as Grenadian citizens and not as NNP and NDC. And if we can't get to that, we will give away everything that belongs to the next generation to finance. By the time this election finished, the next one finished, the resources that we have gone up in smoke. What you giving your grandchildren and your great grandchildren? That's the question. We are not here now, Pablo. My beard might be a little whiter than you, right? So all we working for is the next generation. That's it. The time that we have on this earth is less than what we live. And
what we've lived already. Yeah, absolutely.
So we are at the position now where we want to work for grandchildren and the next generation. And we have to ask the question, what are we giving to them? A citizenship and investment program. For every additional citizen we have in Grenada, your share and my share diminishes. We get smaller. We have to understand that. Is the $250,000 that we get in, sufficient for that? Every time the population increases, my share gets smaller. And the public spaces and so they're disappearing. Grenadians cannot go to a party, you cannot have an outing, you can't go to the beach. All of those things that generations before took for granted and did, we can't do it now. Others are taking it away from us. We have shared it, We had the best beaches, and we shared it with everybody. You come home, man, come on. But they've come, they've tasted, they like it, and they like it more than you know. And they want it exclusively for them. And we sit and we allow it. So how do we deal with that? The politicians, they all accommodate it, right? There's nobody that is fighting for the ordinary man. Who makes sure that the ordinary man can go on the beach, wherever? Why we can't pass a law that says every beach is public? Why we can't make it clear? We passing laws in Parliament about information for foreign entities and all sorts of things. But issues that we have to deal with locally here that is of interest to the Grenadian people, they can't seem to go to Parliament. We're removing all the parliamentary rules and we're passing those laws in one day. But the Pre-Real Licensing Act and the whatever other act taking years to come through. When it affects the ordinary common man, there seems to be nobody. And if we don't wake up as a people and ask for that representation, we will forever repeat ourselves and we will forever be repeating the cycle that we are in. We have to break that cycle. And it's only by education. You see how we get quiet when we're discussing things that are not political? There's no political nothing. This is what we call big people business. Big people sit down and talk. Because it's your business. So let's talk about our business and make a decision as to what we want. And then we're going to say to the politicians, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. We have it now the other way around. The politicians telling us what to do. And we can't, and if you the boss,
And
you own the thing.
and that's the reason why, Mr. Ned. That's the reason why, in spite of my partisan political involvement, you are the first. You and Cassandra are the first two people on the program today, because I believe we need to be having these kind of conversations. I agree with you that that's the ideal place that we need to get to. But the fact of the matter is, and let me qualify it. The indisputable fact of the matter is, we are not there. And there is no indication, apart from these conversations that's driven by you and Cassandra and Sandra Ferguson and the Constitution Caucus, J.K. Roberts, and so. There is no indication of any intent or any movement in that direction, because as we rightly know, that those treats and the other things that go with it have become standard practice in our election campaign. And it is for this reason that I have said to you, and I will repeat again, that we are not going to get there before the next election, along the lines or in the midst of all that, the information that you are sharing, all of the information that Cassandra is sharing, that, right? It is not going to stop the next election from happening. It is not going to stop the parties, the political parties, from spending hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars in the paraphernalia and whatever else, voters to us, right? I say, we are not going to get to that ideal place. I don't see how. If you can show me the pathway, it will be a good thing.
Well, Pablo, if I may say so, what we do today is that there is Pablo, what we do know today is that according to law, these matters can be challenged. So every politician should be aware, and how they say it, buyer beware that there could be challenges. I'm not saying that there's not going to be challenges. I'm saying that there very well could be challenges to this situation, and that we should do the right thing. Because this piecemeal approach
saying that, yeah, are you saying that we can see challenges to the standard practice of election campaign and the distribution of T-shirts and all that kind of thing?
Why not? If the law provides for it, then all any citizen who feels aggrieved, you take the proper action. So the law is there. It is a law. So there's no doubt about that. So if a candidate violates those laws, why you can't take him to court?
This is not just a candidate thing, you know. The main political, all political parties, this has become standard practice. I tell you, it's standard practice in campaign planning that political parties that political parties, as part of the campaign planning, right, will take into consideration, right, the procurement of flyers, banners, posters, T-shirts, handbands, so on and so forth. It's part of the planning in preparation for an election campaign. It's standard practice.
I agree. If standard practice is against the law, we do two things. Either we change the law and make it comply with the standard practice, or we go back to what the core principle demands of us, and somebody take an action, because that's all that necessary. Somebody actually brought I heard this week that there's a court action, a constitutional action against the government of Barbados. But things are happening. Things are happening.
Yeah, but
and
there wasn't any court action in the against the in relation. What is that? Is that in relation to the campaign? Because I expect that the campaign would have had all of the I expect the campaign would have had all of the party paraphernalia and T-shirt and all this kind of thing as standard practice, and it gave absolute victory and ultimate victory to the new administration.
Yes, but there is no constitutional.
That's what the challenge is about.
No. It has nothing to do with
it. So that is not. So that is not being challenged, and that's the point that I am making. That's the point that I am making. That we are not going to get to that ideal place before the next election comes around.
So, but what I'm saying is that we are seeing our neighbors take constitutional action against sitting government. That has not been the norm.
Okay.
In our history. So it is happening. I can say that there are groups in Dominica, there are groups in Antigua, there are groups throughout the region who are linking together now and bringing resources to bear to these issues. Because these issues affect us, they implement the cost of what is happening in front of us. We really want to bear this thing.
Okay. It's a
step. Suppose I have a devious plot.
It's a step in the right direction.
Right?
Definitely a step in the right direction.
It's happening despite the challenges in getting legal help, etc., etc. You find citizens now taking action almost on their own. They're going through these things, they're going through the laws, and they're prepared to take the action. And so let's wait and see. Let's wait and see.
Okay. I
because
had hoped.
You can wait on.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can wait on the day before the election to take the action.
Wait on the day before the election. Well, tell you the truth, I'm not so sure how that one is going to work out, because I recall in the run-up to the 2018 elections, a number of irregularities in terms of voter registration was cited in about 3 different polling divisions in a particular constituency. And when these concerns were sent to the Parliamentary Elections Office, they said, well, we're going to deal with that after the elections. Okay. And then after the elections, the response from the Parliamentary Election Office to those raising the concerns came after the duration for filing legal claims had passed. And it confirmed the concerns that were raised about 53 people who were registered in a particular polling division. It confirmed that these 53 people that were identified were not supposed to have been registered in that constituency at all. And that was nothing has been done about that.
Okay. So it begs the question again. There are constitutional issues and the issues that come out of ordinary law. Now, the RB is an act of parliament, and there's a very specific mechanism for you to access redress if you feel that you've been in your whatever has been infringed in any way, and you must first go to the parliamentary office. The supervisor of elections must do something. Then there is a tribunal or whatever, but there is a process, right? Now, if it is that the voter was not registered, was not duly registered according to the Constitution of Grenada, that is no longer just a legal issue. It now becomes a constitutional issue. And the access to the court is different. You don't have to go through the supervisor of elections. No, that is the kind of reasoning that we have to do. The Constitution gives you direct access to the court because the person who was registered was not registered in the proper constituency as the Constitution said he's supposed to be. So you see, it is not what we do all the time. So yes, they addressed the matter, but it was addressed as an ordinary legal matter, when in fact they were constitutional issues at the very core of that problem.
Okay.
Because if it tells you qualifications for the voter, right? And section 32 of our Constitution is clear on that. Section 32(2)(a) says every Commonwealth citizen who has attained the prescribed age, right? And who possesses such qualifications relating to residence or domicile in Grenada as Parliament shall prescribe. So, you must be a Commonwealth citizen. You must have attained the prescribed age. Right? The Constitution goes on in subsection C to say that the prescribed age for the purposes of this subsection shall be the age of 18 years of age. Can Parliament change the prescribed age? No, they can't. That has to go to a referendum for it to be changed. Can Parliament change the fact that this is every Commonwealth citizen? Well, we've seen the Parliament done that, just that. Because this phrase here, the Constitution gives instructions, and then it gives Parliament the authority to make decisions. So the instructions are that you must be a Commonwealth citizen and you must have attained the prescribed age. Those are direct instructions. Can't change that. But Parliament has the right to make a law saying how long the Commonwealth citizen can live in Grenada before he can vote. Right? Now, how does that translate into the amendments that we are seeing in the Representation of the People's Act that says a Grenadian citizen could vote?
Okay.
That is not the directive in the Constitution. Right? And that is the directive. The directive says the Commonwealth citizen. Now, so the Grenadian citizen is only qualified to vote because they are a Commonwealth citizen who have satisfied the residency requirement, as every other Commonwealth citizen has to satisfy. So we can't get up and say that a Grenadian citizen has a right to vote and there are no residence or domicile requirements. That is not what this says. But we've done it. But it could be challenged. It's clear. There's no ambiguity or anything in this. The Parliament can go and change the 18 years of age. 18 years of age. The prescribed age shall be 18 years of age. Parliament can't change that. If we accept that, then we also have to accept that the Constitution instructs that it's every Commonwealth citizen who has attained the prescribed age, and not every Ghanaian citizen who has attained the prescribed age.
I got you, Mr.
Because
Ned.
the living, the
Yeah.
domicile/residency requirement is critical. Now, we Parliament say there's no residency, there's no domicile thing. No, anybody can come and vote
So,
because there's no.
Pablo,
Yeah, Brother John?
in the last election, we have heard that people leave Canada and the United States and go to Grenada to vote. Just 3 months prior to the election, some come in the day before and voted and returned. If such a case happens again, who is going to be monitoring who comes in and who go and vote? Is there any marker? Is any way of identifying persons that just fly in 3 months or 2 months before and voting for a particular party? How do you fix that?
Well,
people who
before you
are
answer,
on-
Mr. Ned, but you know, 3 months and thing, you know. The plane come down today, people
Yeah.
come, they vote and so, and then they fly back within a day or two, and so that has become standard practice.
Yeah. So, how do we
Mr. Ned.
monitor such a situation?
Well, the voters list was just released. So people know a candidate who is putting himself up for office. And I'm talking about ideally because I don't like to refer to the party at all. I don't, subscribe to the whole concept of the party. But as me, right? So the person who is a candidate, it's his responsibility to look at the list. And you look at the list and you determine who are the persons in your constituency, right? And you know when you passed last week, this person wasn't living here. And you check it.
Okay, so let me ask another question then. If the electoral office have a list out already, right? Wouldn't it be prudent in that case for them to go out and check the list against people who live in there now? If the people are registered on the list are actually living in the constituency, and if they're there, so they're not there in election call in the next 3 months, which means that they're not in the country for the year. Can the electoral office do such a thing? Have people going out?
It is the responsibility of the registration officers and we used to have enumeration officers. We have not had an enumeration for a very long time now. And it is one of the issues associated with the re-register or the replacement of the voter's card, because there's been a number of terms used: re-registration, there's replacement, etc., etc. And the question is, can you replace an expired card?
Yes.
The card is expired.
So the other thing comes in the card, because I remember, correct, Cassandra listening, so correct me if I'm wrong. Is the card necessary for voting? Do you have to have a card to show up to register to vote?
Yeah, card is necessary.
Okay.
Card is necessary.
The card is necessary.
And your registration card.
Mm-hmm.
Your registration card, the information on your registration card, the number of your registration card is supposed to indicate where the constituency within which you live. Supposed to. We're still trying to verify what is happening now, because it is said, I have not confirmed this, that people are going to the parliamentary electoral offices. They have moved, they've changed constituency, but you're still getting the same registration number. And that we have to really verify. We're trying to verify that, because I don't understand how that can happen. Your registration number is supposed to tell you when what period you are registering, etc., which constituency you are registering, and all of that. That's why you have a number. And it's a unique number to you. There's been a number of changes in the representation of the people, number of amendments in the representation of the People's Act. And that has been happening since 2014, 2013, 2014. And we really, people need, those of us who are involved in politics, partisan politics, need to get abreast of those. Because when the changes that have been made, they're startling. They're startling. Well, this whole issue with the registration card started in 20. Go ahead.
So,
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Registration card started.
Yeah, it started sometime in late 2019, when I remember civil society getting an invitation to come to an urgent meeting with the supervisor of elections. And the cards were supposed to expire in February, in end of January 2020. And they had to amend the law. According to the supervisor of elections, they had to amend the law. Coming out of the meeting, it was the request of those present, and it was civil society, a number of the political parties were there also, a number of the independent candidates, they were also at that meeting. And the general consensus was that before the amendment, according to the supervisor of elections, before the amendments proposed by the supervisor of elections were made, the civil society groupings would like to have scrutiny of those amendments. And about 2 weeks later, the reply came that the amendments were no longer necessary. It was no longer necessary to amend the law, and that they can replace the card. Now, interestingly, in order for you to replace the card, according to the representation of the People's Act, your card has to be mutilated, it has to be stolen, or it has to be defaced. Now, for the ordinary Canadian citizen who goes to the office, his card is not mutilated, his card is not defaced, his card is not lost. Right? So, and he is supposed to fill out a form and sign that form. And that is what the law says, how the law says you can replace a card. So we have to ask ourselves what it is we're doing. What are we doing? So it's either that we're doing the registration process. The registration process is central to our democracy. It is the very cornerstone of our democracy. It is one vote, one man. That is what makes us equal. Right? That is what makes us equal. Because we have, each of us, we have equal say. Now, if that is in any way compromised, it means that the entire democratic process from the very beginning is compromised. So we have to pay attention to these things.
So
we have to pay, we can't just skip over it.
Boy.
Well, in any event, this is a conversation that has to continue.
Yes.
This is a conversation that is going to continue. I haven't returned to Gemfm platform. I am going to use this medium as much as possible to ensure that that information gets into the public domain. Mr. Ned, you and Cassandra are welcome to join me going forward. I expect you all to be back, okay? I expect you to be back here whenever, at some time that we can arrange to continue that conversation. because we have only just scratched the surface. I was hoping for us to address that letter that went to the Governor General. We haven't, and we know that that is not the first such letter that would have gone to the Governor General. There's another letter from civil society signed by Sandra Ferguson that I would like to address because it speaks to matters relating to the representation of the People's Act and the observer mission, the OAS observer mission and recommendations that's been made and stuff like that. So we need to have these kinds of conversations. So in spite of the fact, and it hasn't been disputed up till now, that we are not going to get to that ideal place before the elections. I know that we are not, but it is critical that we have these conversations in order to build awareness, because presently it is only a handful of people, is only a very small handful of voters in this country who are first off aware of some of the things that you're speaking about, or who subscribe to some of the things that you're purporting. Okay, so although I am involved in the partisan political operation, right, I believe that it is important for the people to be made conscious of these things so that we can be in the best place to make the best decision that is suitable for us as individuals and for us as citizens of the country and for the country as a whole, okay? And so I am willing and ready to have you and to have Cassandra and to have Sandra Ferguson. And well, I can't say J.K. Roberts because my program is in the afternoon. So J.K. will not be able to join us at this time, but I know we had him on the evening program already on Gemfm Talking Point. So I'm looking forward to having you guys so that we can continue that conversation. So before we close for this afternoon, Mr. Ned, any parting words?
I would just want to say welcome again. So, taking this whole discussion to the depth, giving us the opportunity that we can take this discussion and give it the depth and the breadth so that we can really see and visually and what is happening as opposed to what is supposed to happen. And this is where we are. And as ordinary Canadians, we have to make a decision if we want. Because the problem that we are having, if we don't make that decision, others will make it for us. They're doing it now. They're making that decision for us now. If we don't get up and mind our business, take the necessary steps to ensure that our governments are accountable, right? That they do what they're supposed to do. Others will do it for us. Because, we have come along, we've come through our history. Somebody has always protected the workers and the vulnerable. Somebody is always, Eric Geary, Maurice Bishop, Mary Schultz, somebody has always protected the vulnerable and the weak. Who is doing that now? Somebody has always protected the worker, the ordinary worker. Who is doing that now? When we see all that is happening to workers, their rights are just being exploited. Who's doing it? But we say we represent people. And that is where we go back to what the core issues are. So on behalf of the caucus, I want to say thank you. It was a pleasure this evening. And I wish that there was somewhere we could have shared a link because we meet every Monday. And that meeting, we have discussions like this, where we take a section of the Constitution, pick an issue that's relevant, and we go ahead with the discussion. And we apply what the Constitution says to the issues and that are prevailing at the time. So it is a discussion on the Constitution. We want to remind you the Constitution is yours. It is yours. You can do with it. You can change it however you want it. But we must have this kind of conversation. So thanks once again for allowing us this opportunity that we can continue this discourse. John,
Yes.
thanks so much.
All right. Okay, Brother Dale. So thank you very much. And this is where we bring the curtains down on this afternoon's program. Those of you who used to be here with Pablo on the Saturday afternoon Gemfm show before, you're used to the comfort zone. Well, we ain't in the comfort zone anymore. We're talking about things, times, and people. This is the T-Tap show. Things, time, things, and people. Because everything happens in time, and it's all about the people. So I look forward to you joining me again. This was just the first edition, and I'm hoping that somewhere along the lines, Sister Cassandra would not be inhibited by her maternal responsibilities, and she would be able to join the conversation because we want to hear what she has to say. We want to hear her voice, you know, enunciating as she does so eloquently on those issues. Okay, so that's it for today's program. Brother John, over to you.
Well, you know, Pablo, it has been a nice return. And I get no feedback. Somebody listening. Yeah, it has been a nice return. I appreciate it. I know I miss Mr. Ned and Cassandra having this show, but I have given them, I've spoken to Cassandra already. They were using up the Friday nights. I give up the talking point Friday nights for the caucus to use for that purpose. So going forward on Friday nights from 8 o'clock, that part of the program, that show, that evening, I usually start it only for my show, Talking Point, but give up the Friday nights to the caucus. All right. For now, my Monday night, the first Monday of every month, is free. Thus far, I have a program to come to start on the first Monday. We have not finished off working on the details and stuff for that yet, but that first Monday of every month, I could loan you guys that spot again for the first Mondays of every month until that program begins. Only whenever it begins to use that for the constitutional caucus that Monday night, and then you still have the Friday night. So the first Mondays and the Friday night could be used for the caucus to do those kind of things. I think it's important that Grenada knows the constitution well, so when they see something wrong, they know that is wrong and they can speak up against it. And not accept as a norm because it was happening before. So because I keep thieving, I didn't get caught, doesn't mean that thieving is okay. You know what I mean? Wait until you get caught to say, well, you break the law. You've been breaking the law all the time. You know, it's broken. Yeah, the system is broken, and people in authority, they know it's broken because they know you don't know the law, so they continue doing it. Yeah, but when you become aware, you just point out and say, hey, you know, this is wrong. When they come to the constituency, give me a t-shirt, you know, this is wrong. Ask me to vote for you, this is wrong. So now I know I could speak up against, say, hey, I don't want your t-shirt. I'm abetting a criminal act against the constitution here. So now I know I could send out and say, hey, keep your t-shirt, and because by adventure, I could be called to court as a witness to your crime, you know, because you're against the constitution to do such a thing. So I would love to see those activities, those constitution conversation continue taking place. where we can educate the Grenadian public, and so they know what their rights is in the Constitution. I think for the reason Pablo and Mr. Dave and Cassan and those listening, for years nobody have taken up the matter as now to create an awareness of what is really needed to be done, to be taught in Grenada as it relates to the Constitution of Grenada and their rights under the Constitution, and how the law will work in unison with the Constitution. So all of these things have to be brought to the awareness, the forefront, so Grenadians could understand who and why and how they can be participate in the process. Yes, and I love the part with Cassenger continue to talk about the residency. I know she said that Parliament could I think she said something. He said something here. Where she said it. I want to just go back to it just for a moment in time here. Where did she put it? Wow. I cannot see it right now. Something to the effect about Parliament making a law as to who. Wow, where did I see that again? However, I can't see it now. But something she said that to the politician. Okay, Parliament can only make laws relating to residency. Yeah. So I need to expansion of that next time. So again, a number of things that need to be done, and people need to be educated so they can be liberated. And hence the reason why we say at this radio station, education is liberation. So the more you know, and the more intelligent decision you can make as a citizen of Grenada. So Pablo, thank you again so much. Time, things, and people.
Time, things, and people.
Time, things, and people happen right here.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, 2 p.m. T-Top Show with Pablo. T-Top Show with Pablo. All right. I gotta make it. That sounds really nice.
And thank you, Gemfm, for the generosity. I think that our grouping is going to be very much appreciative of this gesture. It would mean, it would mean so much to us. Now, Mondays and Fridays, and I just hope that first Monday and every Friday.
Yeah. 8 p.m. Yeah.
Sounds good. The challenge.
And unlike other radio stations, we give you the 2 hours. one and a half to 2 hours
yes,
to discuss.
And, you can actually have depth, and that's what I like about this program.
Yeah. We don't have 50 minutes. We don't give 50 minutes. We want to have real discussion. So, 2 hours, 1.5 hours is enough time, for people to bring a message across. We're doing commercial interviews. We're doing real live discussion, We're not time. So that's what we want. We want people to get substance. So when we have guests here come to talk, they talk and they have enough time to really blend in and talk to people. People could have part in the conversation. You don't have to rush, your conversation across. And now you have, get the Friday nights so people can participate in a more, could call in if they need to call in on the show, whether call in your number or my number, our number, the station here, to be participating in the program as well. So that is a good thing. Right, Pablo?
Yes, Brother John.
And
all right.
They still have a bonus sometimes with Pablo, have a discussion still on the Saturday afternoon show with Pablo. So you see, you have a whole range. Gemfm.
All right.
We have you covered.
Okay then. Yeah. Until next time.
Yes. Stand up for
Thanks so much
something.
For today. Okay.
Yeah. So stand up for something, Pablo. Or for
yes, Brother John.
For nothing. You want to go to this one?
That's good. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
All right. Stand up for something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the man, Dr. Leroy Callis, right here on Gemfm.
You just stay living and doing nothing. As the world over, you just a freeloader. Problems every day, you have nothing to say. You'd rather run and hide before you take a side. I tell you, stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. In your whole lifespan, you never make one stand. Stand up for something, or you will die for.
There's a situation happening in Grenada right now. Who is standing up for the people?
Stand up for something, or you will die.
The last such a situation. Need attention.
Stand up
With them.
for something or you will die for nothing.
Call on the Governor General, the Prime Minister, opposition parties. Lassa just need your voice. Stand up for something.
Workers out striking, black cats protesting. Before you join the fight, you rather break the strike. Don't like the condition, so they fight in the election. Before you sympathize, you rather criticize. I tell you, stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. Corruption down with road, still you will not vote. Why? Stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. Killing going on every day, you have nothing to say. Stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. Stand up.
Yes.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up for something, or you will die for nothing. You talking the talk, people walking the walk. You happy as ever to be a fence watcher. Life's a precious thing for you to be within. Stand up and play your part and play it from your heart. I tell you, stand up for something or you will die for nothing. Get up, my friend, your life soon within. I tell you, stand up for something or you will die for nothing. So your grandchildren too would be proud of you. I tell you, stand up for something or you will die for nothing. Stand up.
Yeah, stand up.
Stand up.
Join us tonight right here on Gemfm. 8 p.m. tonight.
Die for nothing.
Join us for something. And fight for something. Yes, that's the man, Black Stallion. Stand up for something, or you die for nothing. You know, and that's the thing, we got to stand up for something. I want to encourage all Grenadians to please pay attention, get involved. Call up Cassandra, call up Mr. Ned. Go and check them out. Be part of the movement, because what you don't know, they say what you don't know is what kills you. Yeah? But sometimes, if you don't know nothing at all, nothing whatsoever, yeah, you become just another sheep to the slaughter. You don't want to be in that position. Now you know. Know your rights under the Constitution. Know your rights and the law. So you can defend it yourself. And the law make ways for you. If you don't know it, they will take advantage of you. Once you know it, and you can have a discussion around it, you know, you can always defend yourself. Because you use the law. The letter of the word of the law is applicable. Use it to your advantage. Take the classes. Listen to Gemfm. We have it here for you. Yeah? So, going forward, be tuned in to Gemfm. 24 hours of radio. Don't be afraid. Not just a Facebook presence. We have a radio station that operates 24 hours. Yes? And you're going to hear it. If you don't have a YouTube, if you don't have Facebook and you have YouTube, you can join us on YouTube. You can also listen to us there as well. All right? So, election may be called. It's not election. We don't know yet. But be prepared to vote. Get registered and vote. Black Stallion. I'm out of here, folks. Have a pleasant evening. Join me back tonight at 8 o'clock. Vampire, yeah.
Was the year of the woman. They gave the whole 79 to the children. children. My brother man, Black Stallion say beware. 81 in Trinidad is on the fire, yeah. Trinidad fire pack up the cloud. And every 5 years it has passed. The crucifix and cross they could make the grave. There's only chalice and loud smoke the frame. So if the chalice smoking, vampire passing. Every vampire small, vampire party, vampire nice, vampire. If the chalice smoking.
Not because something is a norm, because it is the law. The law could be broken by having it as a norm, yes? So because somebody accustomed doing something wrong and nobody said anything, doesn't mean that it's right. Change the conversation. Vampire, with
PhD, CNAC. Vampire, robbing the university. Vampire, with that chicken jacket and tie. Vampire, telling you they don't lie. Just a little bit of blood to do.
Yes, I want to applaud Cassandra, Mitchell, and Mr. David and the committee for doing such a wonderful job in educating the greater public. And I will encourage you folks to follow them and support them. Come out and listen to them whenever they have discussions like this. All right? It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Vampire, like bees crossing through ghetto. When they're looking for blood, oh Lord, they know where to go. With banners and placards evermore. Every minute of the day, knocking at your door. But they're making sure before they pass. They're taking all the chillum and grass. An hour or so before they come. There's no bad boy on the whiskey and rum. So if the child is smoking,
Vampire passing. With them.
vampire nice, go vampire humble, vampire weird, vampire.
Charlie smoking. Vampire passing.
They tell them how they care about the welfare, see them with them own pockets to get their stuff. If the child is smoking, vampire passing. The best type of blood for truly vampire. They say is when they suck the blood and liver. So from the time they come, you're sure to hear them say, hey, hey, we come out to give liver a play. But then driving rum in big Cadillac. Suffer triple with them at the back. And the only play that liver gets in. Just the man behind the steering driving. If the child is smoking, vampire passing. Come on, Check out every trend Begonian. All of them have the solution. This Twin Island, and take the people out of this jam. You take a chance and give them the work, not realizing they was making joke. After punches start knowing, it's only old talk you was getting because Jim no, Jack no, Harry know how to run the show. Paul no, Mac no, till the country falling down low. Low, the country falling down low, the country breaking down. You might see how the whole place tumbling down, and there's so much pride people in town. Low, the country falling down low, the country breaking down. You might see how that foam just tumbling down, and so much pride people in town.
Right, that's where I get to get off. Have a pleasant good afternoon. Keep on listening to Gemfm 24 hours of radio right here every day in the north, cool north. Yes, this is the man Black Salad. With them is the name of this one. Join me tonight at 8 o'clock. And don't forget to check out Cookies Pastry Delight in Grenville, Ben Jones Street, and Linter's Chicken, Afro's Chicken. Yes, every Wednesday and Friday night. Chicken is $10 and pork $10 and rabbit is $15. Wednesdays and Fridays at the Simon Pavilion right there in Pearls. Yes, Pearls Simon area. Simon's Paradise. Go check it out. And don't forget Cookies right today in Grenville. Go tell them you heard on Gemfm. Pastry Delights. A delighted place, a delighted taste. Check them out. As for Crystal, hey, I heard it on Gemfm.